Well, high school was a dark time. We had to do things that were cheery, and honestly, we are a very cheery bunch of people. So we decided, instead of going to a pep rally where giant eagles are going to be flying around in your face, screaming, "Go Glovertown Eagles," we're going to go in the back of the music room and make some obscure sounds that make no sense whatsoever. And then we were like, damn, we're fucking good. And then it was born. And beginning of an era.
I believe it kind of started the Defense Force in a way because we were all in class and all of a sudden there was this volleyball tournament on the go. We all had to fucking go to the school gym, and we got there and it was just this huge pep rally on the go, and everyone was dancing and cheering, and there was like mascots and shit going around chanting about school spirit and how everything's wicked. And me and Greg and Caroline were sitting in the corner just like so pissed off, like just so pissed off, just like ready to like punch out that fucking mascot and fucking tear it to shreds. So instead of doing that, we decided to sneak into the music room at the back of the gym and sneak into the very back room of the music room, which was like soundproof. And when we got there, we realized there was like a huge stash of brass instruments, like tubas and trumpets and just like a whole pile of shit that we could just make noise with. And we all looked at each other and we all gave each other this nod. And we had a vision, you know, and all of a sudden brilliance was crafted in about 45 minutes. We made one of the greatest records of all time.
Well, it's pretty simple. We were all at the same place at the same time, and we started playing a few instruments, testing out waters, and you know, started to sound good, so we just made it work. And I feel like I was there because we were all good buddies. It was all good times.
Well, you know, just being bored, really. I mean, there's not much things you can do, not many things you can do in a small town. Your options are kind of limited. I mean, there's not many things to do when one of the only things to do is go on Skidoo. And it's difficult to go on to do when you ain't got to do. So, that's why I turned to music.
Every song we made that day was a single. I mean, we were instantly signed by Warner Music Group, and they couldn't believe it. They couldn't believe how we crafted 12 singles in 45 minutes, like Yay Ha Hoo Ha, Bundy, Tits, Cartons, Feeling It. They were blown away, and like the record was a flop, but and we were instantly taken off of Warner Music Group, but they still say to this day and send us letters like, holy shit, you guys are the true saviors of rock and roll. I think just like evil and suffering and misery and going against school spirit and being the best band that ever came out of Glovertown. And yeah, a lot of evil shit. I believe Greg once told me that he sold his soul to the devil when he said he was going to the bathroom during our first recording sessions in the music room. He was just like, hey man, I gotta go to the bathroom. And apparently when he went to the bathroom, he sold his soul to the devil. And that when he came back, all of a sudden, the music was just happening, you know? We couldn't believe it, so I guess Satan would have to be, like, thanks Satan, if you're watching this. Like, I'd just like to say thank you for helping us craft our music.
Main influences. Well, Satan, my homie, you know. But, you know, he's the number one, but I guess all the books in my basement really set the tone for what we were looking for. a lot of horror, gore books, sci-fi. Made us really think about what we as a band wanted to become, which is really important to us.
I'd have to say, it'd always be Biggie Smalls. But my biggest influence is probably Conway Twitty, because he's just a beautiful artist and his lyrics just get to me.
Oh, well, the influences of each individual member of a band are obviously going to contribute to the sound of the overall product after it's been finished with the recording. I'm not quite sure of Aaron or Caroline's main influences, but mine are quite far-reaching, though they do tend to lean to the cyberpunk electric grindhouse-core genre. It's my favorite, without a doubt. You have awesome bands like Bedazzled Cobra, Bloody Blood, Fridge Over Troubled Waters, Lake of Electrocution, Dying in Pain, Dying in Vain, Scum of the Earth, Rotting Flesh Fuckers, Marshmallow Suffocation, Skewered by a Rusty Fishing Hook, The Number 13 Looks Like You, Flammable Brains, Iron in the Killing Fields, The Insane Frown Posse, Hydraulic Holes, Hellfucker, Cold Hatred, Swallow the Excrement, Somatically Impaled, Suicide by Sex, Penetration with a Rusty Rake, and Bear Shit. All wonderful bands, and every single one of them has had a major influence on, just the way that I play my drum kit and the way that I, do harsh vocals in Defense Forces music. And I think when you listen to Defense Forces music, you can hear each one of those bands coming through on those two aspects of our recordings.
I would say like Ted Bundy and like Charles Manson, and I don't know, just like Nails on a Chalkboard, Mrs. Bennett, she was a big influence. Stephanie Collins, that band Anal Christ, from Hell, they're really good. And Justina Lamb, and Mr. Gilbert, and Miss Rajam. That had to be my influences.
My influences as a vocalist? Mariah Carey. She's my real homie. Yeah.
Well, you see, pop punk is a genre that's not very big in Glovertown. Defense Force, we kind of tried to take a little bit of influence from that genre and put it into our own music, put our own spin on it. And we did take a lot of influence from different bands like, A Day to Remember, or Sunrise Skater Kids, etc. And the name of the band, Defense Force, it comes from the popular adage, defend pop punk. When you're the only pop punk band in town, you gotta stick up for what you believe in.
I think we were all a bit indifferent. I mean, they were having trouble keeping up with the technicality of our music. I think rhythmically, they couldn't really handle the drum beats. I think it was really getting to them, and they were going out drinking every weekend while we were recording in Caroline's basement. They just weren't up to the task. They didn't really understand the brilliance of our music, and we were getting into a lot of arguments over creative differences about how the drums should sound. And it just wasn't, they weren't cutting it. We had to say, see you later, goodbye. And I think to this day, they heavily regret it. I think, yeah, it's a shame.
Honestly, it kind of changed the dynamic a little bit. We had to find our voice again. It was a little bit... Our first album without them, I mean, our first album, our only album was with them, so I mean, people knew at this point what to expect. So when we started again with just the 5 of us, it was a little bit weird. But I gotta say, like, I mean, their partying and stuff like that, it was totally their own choice, but we made it work, and I think we made some pretty solid albums, and all in all, it was a pretty rad time.
Well, you know, like, I don't talk about it much because I don't like bringing up my past and stuff, but boys were pretty fucking weird towards me because I got into a bunch of shit and got in with the wrong people, and I don't know, boys might have fucked me over with some money issues, and my smoking habits was too much for them, and my drinking, and boys just couldn't deal with how fucking fun I was, basically.
No hard feelings. No hard feelings. Like I said, I hope they're doing alright. I hope they're still drumming and singing and playing recorder. I really hope they're doing that.
Hard feelings? Do you want to know if there's hard feelings between me and Leah and me and Lucas? They nearly tore apart the band. We had a good thing going, you know? The only band on the face of the planet with 7 people in its lineup. You think that, like, there's another band out there that has that many people in it? You're full of shit. And they had to fuck it up by leaving after the first album. What kind of pussy leaves after the first album? You know? At least stick around to the second. Like Aaron did. Aaron Oram. And Joel. Those guys hung around. Sure, they left too, but you know, they put in more effort than you two did. So fuck you. Cunts.
I'm not gonna get into it really, cause I fucking hate a lot of them. They're all fucking stupid nobodies, and I'm Leah Frost, and I go places, and I do shit, and I don't think about them one day in my life.
I met Greg. We went to school together. And one time I walked into the bathroom and Greg was writing like stuff on the wall with chalk. And it was like little, like, you know, like he was crossing shit out and he had like 10 or 15 like little digits there. And I was like, man, what the fuck is that for? And he was like, this is the amount of souls I've eaten. And I was like, holy shit, man, that's hardcore. And then he saw me and he added another one. And he was like, you are one of them. And to that day, I had this weird attachment to Greg. I guess he had eaten my soul. And all of a sudden, the music was just what we did. So since grade 3, I knew Greg was an evil demon. But I didn't tell anyone until this day, and we made music, and he still has my soul, I believe.
We both really like Protest the Hero. So one day I was on a forum, and Greg, this guy just named, I don't know, was like Fortress666 was his username. I was like, shit, that's a fucking demonic name. 666, what are you gonna say? So, I was like, he got some good points about Protest. I'ma hit him up. So, I messaged him, and I was like, wow, I appreciate your taste in music. And we met for coffee, and it's been history ever since. He's a homie.
So Caroline, I believe it was a school night, and I was fucking trashed. And I heard this music going on up by the ball field. And coming from this little shed, and I just heard something. So I decided to investigate it, and I was like stumbling up the hill, And I come to the shed and I can just hear some movement going around. It doesn't sound like there's a lot of people in there. So I'm just sitting outside this little shed trying to listen, and all of a sudden I hear my name being called. And all of a sudden Caroline walks out. And I had known Caroline but I'd never really known her, you know? And I was like, holy shit, you're that Caroline girl. And she was like, yeah. And I was like, what are you doing? And she was like, I'm just dancing. And I was like, holy shit. And I remember the next day, I was talking to Greg again, and he had added another digit to his chalk, his little soul collection, you know? And I was like, who was that? And he was like, Caroline. And that's when I knew that she had to be another member of the band.
I went to school with him.
Joel. I don't mean Joel.
I knew Aaron for a long time. He bit me as a kid. And ever since then, he's had a chunk of my flesh in a little jar in his house. And ever since then, we've been friends, you know. And I've always wanted to get that piece of my arm back. That was one of the main reasons I was his friend, because like there's been a huge chunk out of my arm ever since. But he refuses to do it, and I've never seen it, so I believe he ate it. But I remember Aaron was part of the band, and I remember Greg went to the bathroom, and when he came back, and Aaron didn't know that Greg had just sold our souls to the devil. And Aaron didn't want no part in that. He was like, man, I don't want to be like affiliated with the devil. So he was trying to play bass, but like since he had not sold his soul, he was really struggling with the bass parts. Well, and so I think Aaron eventually got discouraged and went on to do great things, but I guess his just soul wasn't tainted by evil. So I guess he just went on to other things. But I'm still happy to know that he was part of our band for a while.
I went to the gym once. And he was lifting a weight and he screamed a lot. And I was like, shit! He can scream. He should be in my band.
I think Leah was at the pep rally that day. And I remember she knocked on the door and she was like, what was that? It sounded incredible. Like I've never heard something like that in my life. It was beautiful. I think that was after we recorded Yay Ha Hoo Ha. I think she said like that was probably the greatest song she'd ever heard. And we were like, yeah, it wasn't a cover. It was our own song that we had literally just written in a matter of seconds. And she was like, holy shit, I gotta get in on this. So yeah, she got in for that one album, Looks Like Birth, I believe. And yeah, she did a great job. She banged on a lot of drums. I believe she did some tribal screams and chants. I think like Aaron Worm, the devil didn't want her soul as it was too pure. So I think once again, fate had its way and Leo wasn't part of the other records. Joel, I believe he was doing audio for the pep rally or something. And he actually threw everything down and while he was doing the audio for the pep rally because he heard us playing Bundy. And he rushed into the room and he was like, man, what was that? Like, I've never heard anything like that. And we were like, it was Bundy. And like, that was a song we wrote. And he was like, man, that was incredible. Do you guys need a producer? And the sound of the pep rally went to complete shit because no one was watching it. But Joel, after hearing Bundy, needed to produce us so badly that he instantly came to the music room and recorded the entirety of Looks Like Birth. And I think after that, he moved on to producing records for a lot of big bands, like Mumford & Sons. And but Mumford & Sons didn't contact him until they had heard Looks Like Death. And they were like, holy shit, man, we need you as a producer. So Joel, I think, went on to do that.
They were pussies. They didn't want to deal with the hard times, the long hours. They left because I guess they were just tired of working so hard. We really fucking put our all into this music, and I don't think they really had what we wanted to have in it. Like, they didn't want to put the same time that we wanted to put into it. So, I mean, I guess you could say it was creative differences, but I don't think so. We all had the same vision. It was just they left. They couldn't handle what we were doing anymore. I mean, we did power those albums out so freaking quickly. It was just, like, anybody would be overwhelming. But three of us, we stuck together and became what D-Force really is today.
Okay, so yeah, we after we realized that we had lost Aaron and we didn't have a bass player, we decided we needed to have a band meeting. We all sat in a circle with like a little pentagram in the middle of us. And all of a sudden Greg got a text, and he looked at the number and it was just 666 6666 6666, and it was from the devil. And the devil was like, yo guys, you can't just fucking quit now. I got your souls, man. If you fucking fuck this up, I'm gonna send you guys to heaven. And we looked at each other and we were like, man, fuck that.
Well, we didn't find a replacement to play bass because Aaron wanted to take it upon himself to learn a new instrument. So really, it was kind of a blessing in disguise. It made an excuse for him to learn a new instrument, and it gave the whole dynamic, it made the dynamic a little bit better, I think. The three people fit better than four, just because that's what D-Force really is. Like, you know, 666, there's three, you know, 3 a.m., the devil's hour, just three. It works better, I think, for us. So, you know, him learning how to play bass was just the tip of the iceberg. It was good.
And then we texted Satan like, so what are we gonna do? And Satan just texted back, and he said, tell Aaron Powell to pick up that bass guitar. And I was like, what? And we texted him again like, what do you mean? He was just like, just fucking do it. So all of a sudden I went over and picked up the bass. Next thing you know, man, I was just there fucking killing it. I couldn't believe it. Like, Satan had given me the power to play bass. And we texted Satan back and we were like, thank you, TTYL. And he was like, NP. And that was it, you know? We were fine. We were set.
No, I don't have any hard feelings. No hard feelings. Fuck you. No, I'm just kidding. No hard feelings. But, like, we don't really keep in touch anymore. You know, they have their own things. They have their own families. You know, wife, girlfriend, stuff like that. They don't really have, not time, but they don't really have any, you know, need to reach out to us, I suppose. But yeah, they're cool.
It was pretty saddening. I mean, besides the booming murdercore scene of like Molester AP, Master AP, IPT Towner, and Bayview Burnout, there wasn't a whole lot going on. I mean, you had like Route 310, you had the Doctor is Dead, you had the Evan James and Jake Band, you know, the guys who made Muffins of Space, and you had other people like Country Joe, rest in peace, and Buddy What's His Name. But unlike us, who were affiliated with Hell, they were reptilians, lizard people. So we didn't really fit in with them. And during our time in Glovertown, we spent a lot of time trying to expose them as reptilians through videos on YouTube. But we didn't really make any progress, so we decided that I guess we're just going to have to keep pleasing Satan and just do our thing until they get exposed. When Country Joe died, his body did rot away and become a lizard, so people did eventually find out he was reptilian. We were right. But yet Buddy What's His Name has not yet been exposed.
It was starting to become its own. I think before that it was really before any local artists came up, it was really, it was dull, bland. You know, you had Joe Broomfield, he just played a little guitar, some different local school bands. It wasn't really anything much, but then you have like the emergence of Cathedral Spars and Master AP and IPG Towner and, you know, those type of people that really hit you hard, you know? They made you think. Made you think about what music really was and what good music was. I mean, we didn't really have anything before them. Or after. I mean, this was the emergence and the end of the music scene in Glovertown, Newfoundland. It was big, and it was a travesty when it left. But it was inspiring. And I wouldn't change that for the world.
During our recording sessions, sometimes we'd be making a lot of progress, really killing it, really feeling the evil running through our veins. But I remember at times things would get low and we would crash and delve into drugs. And there was one time we were all sitting around. I remember Caroline had pink eye from doing so many drugs, and we really ran out of ideas. And so Greg went to the bathroom. We thought he was just going to the bathroom to take a shit, but it turns out he was selling his soul again. So he came back and he was like, "Guys, it's done." And we were like, "What?" And he was like, "We have now sold our soul twice." So we were like, "Oh, Greg, come on, man. Like, what the fuck does that mean?" And he's like, "I don't know, but we're going to find out in about 70 years' time." And we were like, "All right." And then the next thing you know, we just like sprung up and we were recording songs flat out. And I remember when we got to, Looks Like Bev, things had really hit a low point. And Greg was like, "I'm going to go take a shit." And he went and took a shit, and he came back, and we were like, "What's going on?" He's like, I did it again. Our souls have now been sold 3 times. And all of a sudden we wrote Cox and Space and Obese Demons, and like things were going really hot, really well. And I remember during the recording of Cox and Space, Satan actually walked into the recording studio, and he was just sitting in the corner drinking coffee and just like nodding his head, being like, he never even said anything. By the end of the recording, he had already walked out of the room. But if you listen closely to that recording, you can hear Satan actually walk in at around the 4:37 mark in the song, 4 minutes and 37 seconds. You can hear Satan walk into the room.
So we were bored, so we fucking put music together for you fuckers to listen to. Alright? No fucking... What kind of question is that? Of course we were fucking did it. We were pros. Jesus. Shit. Woke up one day, had a message on my phone, was like, "Yo, we dropped that new album. Somebody picked it up." And I was like, wow. Wow. They heard Looks Like Death and it changed them. So they decided to meet with us, and it's history. They couldn't deal with passing up all this personality and all this good damn music. So yeah.
We signed a contract with Satan in our own blood.
When the Warner major label fell through, instantly we were contacted by this really mysterious guy who said he heard his music and his ears started bleeding in the best way possible. And we really took that as a compliment. And he signed us, and although once again we weren't selling records, he said the devil was really pleased by what we were doing. And I think that was his manager at the time. So I think what we were doing was really revolutionary, if not on earth, in hell. So it was a very good thing, and we remain signed to them to this day.
Oh, come on, that was standard practice during the day.
Well, I have to say the final product was, you know, It was pretty awesome. I fucking loved it. I might have been on a few tracks, but it was still, the boys did it wicked, and I'd have to say that whenever I'm at the bar drinking, gotta have a shot towards that album, because man, was it fucking wicked.
That's a question that I've given a lot of thought to. But I think at the end of the day, I would have to say hope. Because there's a lot of raw emotion that we put into that album. It means something different to each one of us, even to the people who weren't in the band when we recorded it. And over the years, as we've interacted with our fans, we've heard stories about how hope gave them hope. It changed their lives. They say that music saves lives, and after putting out that album and talking to so many people about how it just kept them alive and kept them in positive spirits as they battled through some of the toughest times. I believe that saying now. Hope gave us hope.
Well, obviously it could have been better if I was on the albums, but I guess besides the fact that they're all fucking stupid, I gotta say that it was pretty great, even though my ego doesn't like me to say those things, but it was still a pretty good track. I gotta give them props, because it was wicked.
Yeah, I think that album got really slept on, and I think it's very underrated. I think people didn't realize that it was the grower. I mean, even us as a band were very disappointed with the output on that record. I mean, after Satan coming in and watching us and nodding his head, I guess he liked it. But after, Pitchfork gave us a 0, and on Metacritic we had, 51, and it was very poorly received by the press. Even Rolling Stone didn't give it any stars. It gave us -2 stars. And yet, at the same time, I think it features a lot of classics, like Obese Demons, the song, Gay in Texas. These songs are all hits. And I think in time, when we all finally go to hell, I think people really understand what we were trying to say in that record. Even Satan says that's one of his favorites, and he said when he first heard Obese Demons, he wept for 3 hours.
Fuck the critics! Bev will live forever in our hearts. Yeah, fuck the critics.
Well, I'm a big fan of Saint Anger. It's my one of my favorite albums, and I think I was very heavily influenced by that record. When I found out that people were illegally downloading Defense Forces music free off of Napster, I fucking flipped, man. I fucking flipped. Because, what are we gonna do when we go to hell and we got no money? What the fuck, man? Everything is twice as more expensive in hell, according to Satan. I was talking to him on the phone the other day, and he's like, how much money you got? Because I'm claiming your soul pretty soon. And I was like, man, I'm pretty broke, man, because everyone's downloading our music. And he was like, fuck, man, you gotta straighten that out, man, because when you get to hell, man, you're not gonna be able to buy booze and coke. And I was like, fuck. So if you're watching this, fans, please, please buy our records. Please.
It was more so just us going our separate ways. We finished high school. We needed to go to university, go to college, find our own way, leave the small town. We kept in touch all these years. We're good homies still, which is awesome. But we really didn't stay and keep making music just because I guess we just had different priorities at this time in our lives. It wasn't a phase, it was just a point where it worked better for us when we were in high school. But then when we grew up, it became not as natural anymore. So we decided it was finished. It was good. It wasn't an evil breakup. It wasn't malicious. It was good.
I think after we graduated high school, I don't know, our souls just didn't feel evil anymore, and we all kind of went our separate ways. And I remember Satan like calling Greg up on the phone, and just being like, "Man, motherfucker, what are you guys thinking? Like, what are you guys doing? You were like backing out of $1 million record deal here." We were like, "Man, we gotta go on," and I think we realized the mistake we made when we did go on to college and stuff, and we all became extremely miserable and fucked up in the head. And I think that's when we realized that we really fucked up our deal with the devil. And we haven't got a text or a call from the devil since. So I really do think we fucked up, and I don't think the devil wants anything to do with us anymore. So I think we're going to end up going to heaven, and I don't think any of us are very happy about that. So we're hoping that one day we'll get Defense Force back on the go, out of this hiatus, and hopefully the devil will get back in contact with us and save our souls, if I may say that. Yes, where it seems like all of our lives have became train wrecks. So I think we really need to get back into the groove and try to get in contact with the devil again, maybe even Warner Music Group. Try to get Joel back from Mumford & Sons. I know Greg was planning on an assassination plot against the Mumford & Sons to get Joel back into the group. And yeah, I think it's a good idea. Once we kill enough people and add a few more souls to Greg's collection, I think we will have the power to come back and make a comeback and get on the devil's side again.
I mean, yeah, I guess why not? If we ever decide to be in the same place for a long enough time to make an album, you know, if I move to St. John's or they come to Corner Brook or we meet in Glovertown even, I mean, to do a true revival, I mean, fine. I mean, I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't have any issues with it. It all boils down to what kind of creative juices we have flowing at the time. So, yeah, I mean, why not? It's cool. I'd be down for it.
I miss the devil. I mean, I weep a lot. I think about him a lot, and I miss him a lot. I mean, he was a great guy. I miss seeing him coming into the recording sessions. I miss getting texts from Satan. I miss Greg going to the bathroom, coming back with his soul, our souls more permanently sold. All these things are things that I think about all the time. And Satan, if you're watching this, please just contact us again. We miss you dearly. Our hearts go out to you.
Oh, always. You know, I haven't spoken to Aaron or Caroline in years. It's been so long since I've seen either of them. But, you know, I have their numbers on speed dial, and I carry my phone with me all the time. So I'm just waiting for that day when one of them finally submits to my request and we get the band started up again. I know we have legions of screaming fans out there, passionate, hardcore people who would just go apeshit if we went on a reunion tour. Just picture it. Defense Force 2017 World Tour.
Yeah, lately I've been looking over my life and I do miss it, and I do miss being a part of something so big. And I know that we've been through a lot of shit, but like, I still, miss it, and I'd have to say that, yeah, I would definitely be a part of it. I'd have to be.
That's what I want to do with my life. It's my dream. So, Aaron and Caroline, if you're out there and you watch this movie as well, I mean, I assume you would, considering that you are also interviewed for it. Then, when you see this, hit me up. I've been waiting for a long time.
Well, honestly, we've all went our separate ways, and a lot of people are on basically the other side of the rock from me, and I can't see it being possible, but you never know, because, you know, fucking miracles are everywhere, eh, bye.
I think the fans would fucking love it.